Imagine there is a war going on now, same. Not the you see, not the you hear, but it is fought in every corner of the universe, and you are the target. From the first breath of life, a silent force has protected you. In the moments more dark, when you felt like everything was lost, something or someone was there, fighting a battle that you neither, not even you, knew it existed. Today we are going to talk about that presence, about a being that does not rest, that fights in name of light, a celestial warrior whose name makes the shadows tremble. His name is Miguel, and if you've ever felt protected by something you couldn't explain, maybe already you have felt his presence. This is not just a video, it's a revelation, a sacred story wrapped in centuries of mystery, faith, and spiritual struggle. A story that many have forgotten, or simply decided to ignore. But not you. You're here for a reason. That's why I ask you not to close this video. Stay until the end. Listen to everything I have to tell you, because if you believe in God, if you have faith into something bigger than us, then have he duty to know who is really the Archangel Michael. And even more so, if your heart vibrates when you hear his name, I want you to do something now, same. Write in the comments the phrase, I believe in the power of the Archangel Michael. Do it if you have faith. Do it if you believe that light always wins over darkness. Darkness. Your comment is not just words, it's a statement of faith. And before we continue, if you believe in God, if you feel that something higher guides your steps, then give it to me like this video now. It's not about me, it's about you, about what you're about to discover. Because what comes next might change the way you see his sky, the earth, and your own soul. Long before the man wrote about angels, there was already talk of battles in the skies, ancient tales, inscribed in tablets forgotten by the time. They spoke of beings of fire and light that descended from the firmament to intervene in the human affairs. Among all those beings, one always stood out, one whose name is not a statement, but a challenge, Mikael. In Hebrew ancient this question resounds like a heavenly war cry. Who is like God? But this is not just a name, it is a principle, a declaration of absolute loyalty to the Creator, a stance against any attempt at rebellion against the divinity. The first time we meet Archangel Michael in the scriptures are in the book of Daniel, one of the more texts loaded with Old Testament symbolism. There, Michael appears as the great prince who defends the people of God. But where does he come from? This being came. What is his origin beyond the scriptures? Some scholars believe that the figure of Michael has roots even deeper, connected with ancient warrior deities, Mesopotamian women, like Marduk or Ninurta, protectors celestials who fought the primordial chaos. When transformed monotheism in the dominant force, these archetypes adapted, purified themselves, and took shape in the armies of the Darling. Miguel represents the archetype of the hero, sacred, is not a messenger like Gabriel, nor a destroyer like Uriel. Michael is the defender, the shield between the humanity and the abyss. In the apocryphal tradition, especially in the Second Temple texts, his figure expands. He is not only the protector of Israel, but also the supreme commander of the armies heavenly. He does not act alone. He leads. He does not wait orders, executes the divine will with absolute precision. And here's the most fascinating thing. In many cultures and religions, the names of the angels describe their functions, but Michael does not. Michael asks an eternal question to the cosmos. Who is like God? And with that question, challenges anyone who claims to take the place of the Most High. What you are about to discover in the next chapters will show you that this isn't just a religious story, but a real war. Invisible, but absolutely present. 3 religions, 3 worldviews, 3 paths spiritual that converge in a same name. Miguel. Although his doctrines they differ, there is something they share with fervor, the imposing presence of this celestial being. In Judaism, Michael is the protector of Israel. In the book of Daniel, We find it as the great prince who defends the people, an authority figure who fights against the forces that oppress the righteous. It is not an angel common. He is the supreme commander, the defender chosen by God to intercede in critical moments of the history. Oldest rabbinic texts it placed next to the divine throne, like the angel of the mercy and the justice. In Jewish mysticism, his figure is linked to He Sephirah of Gevurah, the divine force that restricts, corrects, and protects. In Christianity, its role becomes even more dramatic. In Revelation, the last book of the New Testament, Michael appears in a scene of absolute power, and there was a great battle in heaven. Michael and his angels, they fought against him dragon, and the dragon was thrown into the land. Here, Miguel is not only a protector, it is a warrior, a leader of armies, the executor of divine judgment against the rebellion. For centuries, millions of Christians it have been invoked in times of war, plague, and spiritual oppression. Their name is pronounced in exorcisms, prayers of protection, and liturgical ceremonies. In Islam, the Archangel Michael is one of the 4 great angels, together with Jibril, Gabriel, Israfil, and Azrael. He is in charge of carrying the rain and sustenance from God to the land, but beyond its natural function, it is also a symbol of mercy and balance. The Prophet Muhammad taught that Michael has not laughed since the hell was created. This powerful and poignant phrase illustrates his profound compassion and his constant vigilance over human destiny. The fascinating thing is that in the 3 religions, Michael appears as the defender of the righteous and the adversary of the forces of evil. 3 different paths, a single luminous sword. But that sword does not remain in ancient stories. In the next chapter, you will witness one of the most intense scenes of the entire spiritual history, the great battle of the Darling. Before the clocks and watches civilizations, even before the land was formed, there was a rebellion. An angel, dazzling and perfect, decided not to serve. His name was Lucifer, the light-bearer, but in his pride rose against his creator. I wanted the throne. He wanted to be like God, and with he 1/3 of the angels were contaminated with his ambition. Heaven, that place of perfect harmony, became in the field of war, and in the middle of that emerging darkness was heard a roar. A voice echoed, loud as the thunder, "Who is like God?" It wasn't a question. It was a judgment. Miguel didn't wait orders. He did not ask permission. As a heavenly general, he took his sword and led the hosts loyal in a war beyond our control understanding. The apocalypse it describes with words that freeze the soul, and a great commotion arose, battle in heaven. Michael and his angels, they fought against him dragon, and the dragon and his angels, they fought, but did not prevail. The dragon was thrown. That great enemy, the snake ancient, called Devil and Satan, was expelled from the heaven, not by God directly, but by Michael. And here is the mystery that few dare to consider. Why it was Miguel, not him own creator, who it faced. The answer is powerful, because Miguel represents the fidelity active, the son who fights for his father, the creature who defends the creator with all his being. In this battle, there were no human weapons, nor explosions, nor armies of flesh. It was a confrontation of essences, of light against shadow, of obedience against pride, and it was total. Since then, Miguel has not stopped watching. The sky was cleaned, but the land became in he new battlefield, and you, without know it, you are in the middle of that conflict. Because every decision, every act, every thought is an echo of that ancient war. Now that you know the fall of the rebel angel, it's time to look deeper, because the name Miguel is more than a title. It is a sacred code loaded with hidden meaning. In the spiritual world, the names are not chance. Each letter, each sound carries a vibration, a frequency, a hidden truth. And in the case of Miguel, his name not only challenges, It encodes a divine power. Michael, who is like God? It's not a title. It's not praise. It's an indictment of all pride. It's a judgment against every force that dares confront the Creator. That name, repeated for millennia in prayers, exorcisms, and desperate cries. It is, in Yesem, a spiritual sword, but the symbolism does not stop there. The sword, which appears in almost all of its representations, it is not a weapon of violence. It is the symbol of spiritual discernment, of the truth that cuts the lie, of the justice that separates the light of the shadow. The shield, on the other hand, represents the faith. In the letter to the Ephesians, the Apostle Paul says, "Take up the shield of the faith with the one who will be able to extinguish all the flaming arrows of the evil one." Michael, then, does not only attack, he protects. And the scales, less known but equally powerful, alludes to judgment. In many representations in ancient times, Michael holds a scale where souls are weighed, light versus darkness, love versus selfishness, truth versus illusion. That image links it directly with the archetype of the divine judge, the one who separates the eternal of the ephemeral. In the esoteric tradition, Michael is associated with the element of fire. His energy is purifying, fiery, transmuting. In the Kabbalah is linked with the sapphire of Gevurah, the divine justice, and its color is deep red, a symbol of divine action that does not hesitate. What if I told you that every time you say his name, active that energy in your life? The ancients, they knew that invoking Michael was calling for universal order. In times of chaos, in nights of spiritual storm, his presence was the only thing that stood between the soul and the perdition. Now that you understand what is behind your name and its symbols, you are ready to delve in the most mysterious terrain of all, the apparitions, miracles, and modern devotion to Archangel Michael. It's not just in the old pages where the Archangel Michael leaves his footprint. For centuries, its presence has been felt, seen, even heard by thousands of people around the world. From monks medieval to soldiers in battle, from visionaries to simple devotees, many they claim that he go on here, fighting in silence. One of the most famous stories happened in the year 492 in Mount Gargano, Italy. A shepherd lost his bull in a cave. Upon entering, he found a blinding light and the voice of the Miguel himself, who he said that place would be sacred. Since then, that sanctuary, it has been a point of pilgrimage and the scene of many miracles. Ages after, in the French coast, another mountain, the imposing Mont Saint-Michel, became as a symbol of his power. It is said that the Archangel appeared to Saint-Aubert, asking him to build a church on the rock. The bishop hesitated, until Miguel told him touched the head, leaving a permanent mark on his skull. Today, that relic still can be seen in Avranches Cathedral. In Latin America, especially in Mexico, Colombia, and Brazil, millions pray daily to Saint Michael. In official exorcisms of the Church, your name is pronounced with absolute authority. Saint Michael the Archangel, defend us in the battle. Be our protection against the perversity and the ambushes of the devil. Many believers they claim having felt his presence during moments of danger, in accidents inexplicably avoided, or during illnesses terminals where everything suddenly improves. Miracles, collective faith, or signs of heavenly intervention. Even outside of the religious sphere, Michael has been adopted by occult and esoteric movements. Some it invoke in energy protection rituals. Others it visualize in meditations as a being of electric blue light, surrounded by fire and a shining sword. In all cases, his figure has not lost its strength. On the contrary, he seems more present than ever. And this is where we enter even more intriguing territory. Because for some, Miguel is not simply an angel. There are those who, they believe he is something much deeper, a multidimensional being, or even the Christ himself before his incarnation. That's what we'll explore next. What if everything you know about him, Archangel Michael, was just a part of the whole? What if I told you that some theological and esoteric currents affirm that Michael is not an angel, but something much more extraordinary? Let's start with a theory that has circulated for centuries, Michael as the pre-incarnate Christ. Some denominations, Christians, such as the Adventists of the Seventh Day, they maintain that Michael is not a being separate from Jesus, but a manifestation of his divine nature before being born as a man. According to this vision, the name Miguel describes his role as leader of the heavenly army, not yours essence. After all, who else could face Lucifer directly and defeat him but the same Son of God? This hypothesis is supported in texts such as 1 Thessalonians 4:16, where it says that the Mister himself will descend from the darling with the voice of an archangel. Why Jesus would have the voice of an archangel, if not out? But the theory becomes even more disturbing when we enter the territories of the alternative spirituality. Some researchers of modern esotericism believe that Michael is not an individual being, but a consciousness collective or interdimensional spiritual archetype, which manifests when the humanity reaches critical levels of darkness or imbalance. In this interpretation, Michael is a higher-order frequency, a force of light that embodies the cosmic principle of justice and protection, appears in dreams, visions, and even near-life experiences death as a guardian of portals between worlds. In the Gnostic current, it is said that the archons, entities that manipulate the human perception, deeply fear Michael, as his light reveals the traps of the illusory system that maintain the humanity. What if those intuitions weren't just fantasy? What if the figure of Miguel was an eternal symbol that is activated in times of collective spiritual crisis? If so, his history is not only written in sacred books, but in the deepest corners of the human soul. And now that you know the most shocking theories about who or what Miguel is, has arrived the time to close this journey with a powerful reflection. I may never you have seen. You may not have felt his sword, nor heard his voice, but have you ever survived something you can't explain? If you've ever stood up when all seemed lost, maybe he already was by your side. Miguel is not just a character in the scriptures. He is a living symbol of the eternal combat between light and darkness, an awakening archetype in the moments when you feel it most we need. He doesn't sleep. He doesn't hesitate. He doesn't give up. Where there is fear, he is. Where evil disguises itself as truth, he cuts with his sword. Wherever someone dares to say, "Who is like God?" he responds with fire. And you, viewer, are not here by chance. If you got this far of the video, it's because something inside you knows there's more. Beyond what's visible, beyond what you were taught, there is a spiritual reality pulsating behind the veil, and Michael is one of its guardians. So I invite you to do something more. This is not just the end of a video, it is the beginning of a search to understand who we are, in that we believe, and what forces surround us, protect us, or attack us. If this message resonated with you, if you felt something in the chest while you were listening to this story, leave your like now. Same. It's not just a digital gesture. It's your way of saying, I am on the side of light. And if you haven't already, you did. Write in the comments, I believe in the power of the Archangel Michael. Do it like an act of faith, like an invisible shield you carry with you. And finally, subscribe to the channel, because here we continue exploring the mysteries that others prefer be silent, the truths that bother, the stories that make you look up at the sky with others' eyes. May Saint Michael be with you, may his sword defend you, and may his name continues to resonate where the darkness still tries to reign. See you in the next mystery. Until then, may the light guide you.